Hi, in this video, I'm going to take you through the steps on how to integrate the sensitivity template into your own financial models. You can find the link to download the Excel template as well as the sensitivity analysis guideline in the link down below. The first step is to open the sensitivity template that you just downloaded together with the financial model where you want to insert the sensitivity into it. In my case, it's a solar PV model. I have finished building all the components, all the modules into this model. The last thing I want to do is to insert this tab, this sheet called Sense, which contain the sensitivity parameters, sensitivity outputs, and sensitivity analysis into this solar PV model. Okay, here are the steps on how to insert the Sense sheet into your own model. Open the sensitivity template, go to the Sense sheet, right-click on the Sense sheet, and select Move or Copy. Then the first thing you want to do is to check this Create a Copy so that you don't move the whole sheet, but you just copy it to your own financial model. The next thing is in this drop-down menu, you should see now your file name. For me, it was the solar model, so I selected. That's where I want to insert the Sense sheet. Then the next thing, I can also choose where I want to insert it. For me, it's okay to insert it before the input C sheet. And then I press OK. Now that we have the Sense sheet in our model, the next thing we need to do is to come to the Sense sheet within our model. And on the top section, in the column D, we need to define the input sensitivity inputs. In my case, I want to define EPC as one of the sensitivities, OPEX, and tariff. So these are the variables that I want to change, and I want to see the impact on equity IRR, one of my results, minimum debt service cover ratio, how they will change, and let's say total project cost. Okay, I have defined my inputs, I have defined my outputs. Now I need to define the scenarios, meaning the magnitude of change I want to bring to these three variables and see the impact on these outputs. For example, I want to increase EPC by 10%, I want to increase OPEX by 10%, and I want to bring down tariff by 5%. Okay, so we have completed the first section. We can leave the some of the options here blank. It's okay for the templates to leave them blank. It will consider them as a spare and as a placeholder. Moving to the next section. Here, once we have completed the above table, you will see that the sensitivity inputs are automatically filled up here in the rest of the spreadsheet. So in this table, you see we have to define the scenarios. So here we have the inputs, and here we have the scenarios that we just defined. So for example, this one, we leave it blank. It's the base case, so all the sensitivities are set to 0 in the base case. In the next scenario, I want to increase EPC by 10%. That's what I defined as one of my scenarios. The next scenario I defined was OPEX up by 10%, and the last one was tariff down by 5%. And there is this switch here which enables me to switch in between these different cases. Okay, now we need to link these sensitivity parameters here to our own financial model. I'm going to start with the EPC sensitivity factor. So I should go in my model where I do the EPC calculation, which is in my model in the CapEx sheet, and find the EPC line that is linked to the model and modify the formula to include the sensitivity parameter. So I'm going to bring the sensitivity input, the EPC sensitivity here. In this model, I dedicated across the worksheets the column F for the unit. So I'm going to put the unit, the percentage here. and the 10% sensitivity parameter. Okay, so now I need to modify the formula for EPC and multiply it by 1 plus this EPC sensitivity parameter. Lock it so that I can copy it across. Okay, copy it across. All right, okay, so now I have this 10%, and you can see that it used to be, the EPC price used to be 10, now it's 37. Okay, so we need to go and do the same thing for the other sensitivity parameters, link OPEX to the OPEX line, link tariff to the tariff line, and then come back to the sense sheet. I'm going to do this online, and when we come back, we're going to have the inputs, all the sensitivity inputs linked to the model. All right, now that we have established all the links for the inputs, we need to come and establish the links for the outputs. So for example, I defined equity IRR, minimum debt service cover ratio, and total project cost. They are not yet linked, as you can see in this column. They are not linked, so I need to go and establish the link. Usually in my models, I have a worksheet I call project summary, or sometimes called dashboard, where I summarize all the key inputs and outputs of the model. So most probably I can find this equity IRR somewhere here. So I come back to the sense sheet, and in this cell, I will go and find where I have the equity IRR. Okay, so here we go. That's the equity IRR. So I established the link. It will appear here, the base. Now I am on the base case. So the base case IRR is 14%. Same thing for the minimum debt service cover ratio. So I have different cover ratio, forward looking, backward looking. I would just take the periodic one. And the total project cost. So total project cost, I should have it as in the summary sources and uses. So yes, so I have a 52 million. So this is expressed in thousands of dollars. So it's good, to also indicate the unit here so that it is clear. So I'm going to come in the bracket here, define that it is in thousands of dollars. Okay, perfect. Okay, now that you come up to this one, your work is almost done. It's completely done. So this one should populate automatically by using the data table. So why isn't it showing? Why isn't it 0 when we already have the data table set up? The reason is this in Excel, we have the option when you go to the formula tab under calculation options, you have the option to have manual. That's whatever you do, you need to press F9 or come here and press the calculator button so that you just recalculate everything. The other option is automatic except for data table. So this one is on in my model, and I usually leave it on because data table tends to slow down the spreadsheets. So what we do is that if you have a data table in your model, you want to check this option so that it doesn't slow down. And once you come to the sense sheet and you want to activate it, you can just press F9 or come and recalculate the whole worksheet to update your data table. So now if I switch to automatic, you will see that now the numbers will change. So I'm going to just change the format here. So you will see that you have the scenario, you have the base case scenario. These are our base case figures. Then we have these down case EPCs up by 10%. So a good way to to do a model check is to look at the sensitivities and see whether the sensitivities are giving you or making sense, basically. For example, intuitively, I know that if I increase EPC, the equity IRR should go down and the minimum debt service cover ratio should go down. So I will check and see that that's really the case, that I have from 14 to 11% and the DSCR are also decreasing and the total project cost is increased by 10%. So this will actually a verification for the model that the links are well established. And then the magnitude is something also that is of interest. Same thing for OPEX. and same thing for tariff. So as you can see here, the OPEX is not changing. So I see that there is something wrong here. So most probably I didn't establish the link for the OPEX. So I have to go back and establish the OPEX sensitivity or see where I'm doing wrong here. So as I said, having this sensitivity analysis in your model is also a good way to cross-check your model integrity. All right, I fixed the issue with the OPEX. I linked the OPEX parameter, OPEX sensitivity parameter, to the OPEX line. Now we can come and look at the results. As you can see, as expected, we see that EPC and tariff have almost the same impact on the shareholder return. So we can see the digits, that this is 11%. So increasing EPC is going to bring down the return to 11%. And the price decreased by 5% to 11.3%. And the OPEX is not as dramatic, it's 1% in IRR. So we can, so this is about the sensitivity template. As I told you, if you use this template and you want to use data table, the data table is already set. But if you want to know how to set up a data table, you can go to the manual, and it should be in the last step, in the step 6, that I have basically mentioned the steps. In 3 steps, you can easily set up the data table. However, I want to bring your attention to 2 points. First of all, the one that we just discussed, having a data table will slow down your calculation. So I encourage you to try it, activate the calculation using, with the data table, and you will see that it's going to slow down your calculation, and it's a bit annoying. And then the second thing is that if you have a goal-seek macro or any other macro that you need to run while doing sensitivity analysis, then you cannot use the data table. So what we do is that instead of having a data table, we create a VBA code to just copy and paste the result as values while running the sensitivity analysis. If you are interested, let me know in the comment below, and I can make a tutorial explaining to you an easy step-by-step approach how to do so using a VBA code. All right, thank you.